This dish is a traditional food prepared in a modern way that's really easy to do. This dish tastes like home. When I serve this dish, it makes me proud.
Xaxli'p salmon.
Xaxli'p salmon.
Xaxli'p salmon.
Silent X. Xaxli'p salmon.
Filipino?
Asian cuisine.
South American.
Japanese culture, maybe?
I see it being on a leaf.
Well, I bet it has salmon in it.
Xaxli'p salmon.
Xaxli'p salmon. The word Xaxli'p actually comes from a region in British Columbia, just outside of Lillooet, BC. And it's the name of the people. It actually translates to river people. This dish is important to me because it was one of my mom's favorite foods. My mom always talked about the salmon and how the salmon was important to their people. If there was no salmon, there was nothing to eat. So they really relied on catching salmon and making sure there was enough through the year. Well, I've taken that tradition and modernized it by fusing some other products in there. I created a little bit of a crust on top with all bran. I put a little bit of flavors in there like seaweed and some herbs. All bran is really versatile. You know, you can use it to put on salads. It's nice and crispy. I mean, there's so many different ways you can use it, and it adds fiber to your diet, which is great. Let's get started. What we're gonna start with is some alderwood smoked salt. So we're gonna sprinkle a little bit of this on, not too much. We wanna get a little bit on the top and a little bit on the sides. The other ingredient I'm gonna add is some smoked paprika. And we're gonna finish it up with some mixed peppercorns. Now you can use black crushed peppercorns or even white peppercorns. So what you want to do is you want to let the flavors just seep right in there, and then we're going to let it rest for about 10 minutes. In respect of using the salmon from the West Coast, what I want to do is to get a little bit of crispy texture with a really moist salmon. Now, there's a couple ways of getting a crispy texture. You can actually deep fry it or pan fry it. But to keep it healthy, what I like to do is get a bit of a coating. We're going to start off using Kellogg's all-bran flaked cereal. We're going to grind them up in our processor here. We're also going to add in the dried seaweed. We can do the two of them at the same time. And we just want to blend that up. Nice and fine. The other item we want to add is toasted pine nuts. So I have them here already toasted. Just like that, really simple. The one ingredient that we're going to add to this as well is a little bit of lemon zest. That lemon zest rounds off that flavor. Not too strong, it's not overpowering in taste. Add a little bit of salt. And that's our topping. So what we're gonna do now is create a glaze that's gonna help the crust stick to the top. So we start off with 2 egg whites. We're also gonna add in a little bit of Dijon mustard. As well, I have some melted butter right here. One more ingredient to put in there, add a little bit of sweetness, is our maple syrup. And so this is our glaze that's gonna help the crust stick to the salmon. So you can see it's nice and thick. So as the fish is sitting here absorbing all those flavors, we have our crust ready, we have our glaze ready. Let's get our squash cooking. What I've done is I've removed the seeds from the spaghetti squash, just like this, take the seeds out. Now I love spaghetti squash. Just gonna steam it, really simple. So that's gonna take a few minutes to cook. While we're waiting for that, let's work with our salmon. What we wanna do is brush our glaze on top of our salmon. We'll now coat our salmon with our topping. One of the things I like about using the all-bran cereal is that it's got a nice, hearty, coarse texture, which gives it a really nice flavor when it's cooking. So we're just gonna pack this on, make sure that we pack it up nice and tight. You wanna get a little bit on the sides, you can do that. And that's gonna create a really nice skin and keep the salmon nice and juicy. When you're cooking salmon, you wanna cook it about 350 to 375. You don't wanna cook it too low because it'll dry it out. I grew up in downtown Toronto. My mom came from Lillooet, BC. One of the elders shared a great story with me. And he was talking about the salmon call. And he asked me if I knew the song. And I said, no, I've never heard of it. It's where the crickets sing this song, and it's where they call the salmon. Back in the day, When you heard those crickets, you would have about 2 days to get down to the river. Now, they lived about 40 miles from the river, so it took about a day to get down there. So they would go and catch the salmon and set it all up. While they were waiting at nighttime, usually at sundown, what they would do is they would build these racks. And these racks were for drying the salmon. Now, every family had a different way of doing the racks. So when you caught the salmon and you dried it, when you came back there a week later, you knew that these were your racks. Now, because they respected the salmon and it was so important to their culture, what they would do is they would share it. And the way they shared it is they would cut it open and they would take all of the innards. And instead of just wasting that and throwing it away, they would pack it all up. And they would share it with the bears. You see, they believed that if you didn't share it with the bears, well, first of all, we're going to come and eat your dried salmon. But they also believed that it's not just theirs, it's for everybody to share. And I love this story, and that's why this dish is significant to me, because storytelling just completes the meal. So let's take our spaghetti squash out. It's nicely cooked. And you can see how nice and tender it is. So what we need to do is assemble our spaghetti squash. I'm going to start with a little bit of chopped tarragon. So I have some fresh tarragon here. You want to make sure you have a sharp knife, because a sharp knife will not bruise the tarragon. We'll place that in the bottom of our bowl. The other thing that we're going to put in the bottom of our bowl is a little bit of orange zest. And you'll want to just get the outside. So about a tablespoon in there. Next, we'll take our spaghetti squash, and we're just going to take a fork, and it's nice and tender, and just break it away from the skin. And you can see you want to keep those nice long fibers on there, and that's what's important on this. A little bit of olive oil. White pepper. So there it is. Let's get our salmon out of the oven. Nice and firm, beautiful color on it. You can even see the red on the side, and that's from the paprika. So what you end up with is this beautiful, moist, crispy salmon. Really, when you look at it, it represents the West Coast. So you have the Northwest Coast seaweed flavor in your mouth. You have the alderwood smoked salt. Maple syrup gives it a bit of sweetness in there as well. And that's my version of Xaxli'p salmon. Enjoy. Well, that's it. Who wants to try it?
Oh, it's like
Incredible glaze. Okay, let's listen to that salmon.